Hi, everyone, and welcome to this special live episode of Inside the Client Experience. I am going to add Laura, who is our special guest today, and then we will jump in. So give me just a moment to add her. Hello.
Hello,
Oh, good evening. How are you
fine,
doing?
and you?
Doing well. It's nice to see you, and thanks again for joining us for this event and being willing to share your story in this kind of a new way. We have some people starting to come in, so we'll just go ahead and um, do some sort of introductions and what we're going to talk about, and then we'll dive in. So welcome to those of you who are joining us live, or if you're watching later on the timeline. So glad that you will be able to hear Laura's story. We are going to talk a little bit about her journey over the last, I guess, 18 months or so, including the coaching work we did together, but also just, the personal and professional milestones and things that have happened in your life recently. So I'm just excited to share that with more people. I'm sure you've also shared with friends and family what your journey has been, but this is a space for us to sort of reach even more folks to help them understand not only what coaching is, but also like a real person who has gone on this path and has found their way to a new space. So I'll let you introduce yourself first, but I'm hearing a little echo. Are you okay with the sound?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Maybe I'll just take out my AirPods.
Okay.
Okay. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay. I'm Laura. I'm 28. I'm from France. I'm currently project manager in an association in Paris. And what can I say? I like hanging out in the nature, just to let you know a bit more about my personality. And I love to read, so I think my passion is to have a slow life. So it's important to me, and it was important during the coaching also to know that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing a little bit about you. And it's always nice to just hear something personal beyond like a job title and things like that, because as we've talked about so often, people very regularly come to coaching because of work and they want to talk about their job and stuff, but you're a whole person. And so to know, you're a nature lover and you like to slow things down and have more space to enjoy, like those were relevant to our conversations and ultimately to what you wanted from a next job. So just appreciate you sharing that a little bit with
Yeah.
us.
I think it's important just to let people know what was my background and just to understand a bit more about my own story.
Absolutely. So I will go ahead and sort of take us into some of the juicier stuff, and just sort of prompt you to share with us what life was like when you think back a little bit. So we met last spring. We were introduced by your sister-in-law, who's a friend of mine here in Amsterdam. And prior to that, you had taken a step away from work as well. And so I just want you to sort of take yourself back to that place and and tell me a little bit more about where you were at before we met or before we started this process together.
Before the coaching, I was really tired. I think the main thing is I was tired mentally and physically. I was stuck in a situation I didn't understood, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how. I didn't know who could help me. So it was really difficult to understand that first and to know what to do. I was really stuck in a situation I didn't like, and so I was looking for something I didn't know what at that time before speaking to my sister-in-law. So I was really tired, and it was difficult also to understand that I was tired because of work and because of my choices, and that I have to do a big shift to just being able to have the life I want. And I didn't have any power to make a step back just to see how it is. I didn't do that, and I wasn't able to do that before the coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I remember some of our early conversations. You were in a very different space than you are
Yeah.
now. And it's always amazing to have time and space to sort of look back on those early days, because once you've sort of made those shifts, it's almost hard to remember sometimes how it felt. So thanks for sort of zooming back to that. Um, I wanted to just follow up to that question with, after you spoke to your sister-in-law about coaching, or you heard that this might be an option, what ultimately led you to decide this could be something helpful for you? Or were there hesitations you had, or things you were like, I don't know if this is my path? Just to give people a little understanding of like how you made the decision to get this kind of support.
It's an interesting question, because at first I didn't know what coaching was, and I didn't know what I wanted, how I can have any help. So what was my concern was to open up about my situation with someone I don't know. So I wanted to find someone I can trust and who will not judge me about my choices and just how I feel at that time, because I felt so bad and I felt so tired. I thought that people will not understand me and understood what I felt. So, but we have like a first conversation, and when I met you, when you explained to me what's coaching and how it will help myself, because I understood that it's more a conversation, and it's more like I'm with opening myself with you. It's just seeing new things. And it was great to me because I felt really confident about this when you tell me that I can be slow about it and there is no rush at all. So it's like I forgot my first concerns. It's just, okay, Ellen seems to be open-minded and is going to maybe not giving me advice, but giving me new ways of thinking, new ways of just imagining myself for the future, and just having this capability to help me. And it's like you take my hand and just saying that there is new path to go, and you have the choices you want. But before coaching, I was just, what I can do, I don't know, is coaching for people who has ideas of what they want, or and because I was so lost, really, I felt stuck and lost. I didn't tell them that before, but I was really lost. So yeah, I didn't know what was great to me, but the first conversation just helped me to figure out what I can do by myself too. That I will be an actor of the coaching, and I will be really into it. It's not just you're into just listening. It's like you're acting with you. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it
thank
was a
you
great
for
decision.
sharing that, like sort of behind the scenes of your thinking process and like what led you to this. And something you said originally, or like early on in that response, that struck me was like wanting to talk to someone who doesn't know you. And I find that to be such an interesting and helpful part of this kind of a relationship, because so often we're getting advice and input from the people who love us the most, our partners, our friends, our coworkers, our family, and those people are biased in the best way, right? They want us to be happy and fulfilled, and our choices have an impact on them too sometimes. So when you have the opportunity to talk to someone who's unbiased or frankly uninterested in which thing you choose, it doesn't matter to me what path you take. It can really change the dynamic for the person who's coming in, because you get to hear yourself and sort of process for yourself without some of that influence in the early stages. So yeah, that feels like a big piece that's
Yeah,
sometimes
exactly.
surprising or can feel weird at first, and then as soon as you start, you're like, oh, it's really nice to have somebody who doesn't know me already, or who doesn't have an opinion about my life. So that also brings me to, we talked a lot in the coaching about personal values, and that was such a big piece for you in terms of how you made the decisions you made, and what you ultimately decided you wanted to do for work. So can you just say a little bit more about how your values came up and like what they sort of helped you do in the process?
So the values came up because we talked about what I wanted and I didn't know already. So you sent me a little game, which was great to discover what my
Mm-hmm.
values were and what they are. And they helped me just because I know my values, I just
Mm-hmm.
shift how I see the world and how I see me in at work, how I see me in new environment. So it helped me for that, just to see me differently.
Mm-hmm.
And also it helped me to find a new job because I know my values well and I stand for myself better because
Mm-hmm.
I know them.
Yeah.
It's easier to me to have a new position and to be someone with confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So really having to know my values, it's like just a big power to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's so interesting, when I do this with people, this exercise around values, that like it really just answers a lot of questions that you so often come in with, because then you sort of have this list of like, how do I compare this opportunity in front of me to what I care about in a pretty straightforward way. And I remember with you, it was such a big sort of aha or like moment of clarity
Yeah.
to just help guide what came next.
Yeah, it's like I already knew them, but I didn't know it was like real. I didn't know that I have to consider them. Yeah, I thought it was just a part of me, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to use them in
Right.
my life.
Yeah.
So it's big difference to me, and that's how it brings me a lot of clarity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so interesting too. And I keep saying the word interesting, but what I really mean is like just powerful, meaningful, that like those things are already in us. We all have values, we all have things we care deeply about, but we don't always, as you say, sort of apply that to our thinking or decision making or helping us understand why we feel so off.
Yeah.
And usually, when we feel really stuck or lost, it's because the values are super out of alignment with what we're spending time on at work or in our personal life. Um, so that is really a big piece of it. And I also want to ask you about, like, at the end of the work that we did together, you described, like, you used this phrase, like, I went from stuck to confident. And I would love for you to just share a little more about, like, what did that mean for you? What were the things that happened that sort of made you feel that way in your journey, in your career?
Yeah. As I said before, I felt really stuck and also overwhelmed about everything around me. It was my work and it was my friend, my family, because everything just was too much to me. And the coaching just helped me to have like few steps to just bring a new reality to my mind. It's just like I have a new program inside.
Hmm.
But by myself with you,
Hmm.
it's like our conversations were more about talking about new things and what can I do, how I can manage to do new things because I was a bit afraid of trying.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just step by step, I was a bit better and better and better just by understanding what was important to me, but also how I can manage things which were difficult to me also.
Yeah.
That's why today I feel a lot more confident about myself and about what I want, which was, I thought, a big mountain to me before the coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like a seed, and you're becoming a flower just step by step. So yeah, it was just so slow, and
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, between every conversation we had,
Mm-hmm.
I just realized how it helped me. It's not in during the conversation, it's
Mm-hmm.
just really between the
Yeah.
conversations we had.
Yeah.
Like after the conversation, I was so
Mm-hmm.
tired, but then I realized everything, and in the next conversation, I felt really better and better. It's, you
Yeah.
know, a long
Mm-hmm.
path, but it's great because you have time to do it
Mm-hmm.
between every conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep coming back to that phrase that you used when we work together, and you just used it now, like step by step, because that really is the process, no matter what change we want to make in our lives. And you did that so beautifully by really giving yourself that space between the sessions, as you said, to just like sit back and think like, okay, what just happened? Like we talk about a lot, it can be intense on the call, but then in the space between, you're able to really integrate it and reflect and start to connect dots and put those pieces together over the time. And, you know, as you said at the beginning, you like to take things a little slower and sort of
Yeah.
enjoy the process and be intentional. And I think the beautiful thing is, without maybe even knowing it, that's sort of what we were doing in the work. And so it makes sense that it was a good fit for you as well, because that style of just taking things slow and breaking things down is how the process goes. So
Yes, but before I didn't realize. So, you know, the first two conversations, I felt strangely, because it was like so new to me.
mm-hmm.
I didn't really know how to embrace this new
Mm-hmm.
thing. But then it was great because I felt it
Mm-hmm.
really deeply, and just I felt more confident, but really a little bit. And now I really don't feel stuck anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel really free
Mm-hmm.
and really confident. So
Mm.
the coaching helped a lot.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I wanted to ask if there were any other big takeaways or things that are sort of sticking with you from the time, that you wanted to share with other people, or, you know, give us an idea of how it impacted your life and your work.
First, of course, the values. I insist on that because it really changed the way I think
Mm-hmm.
for me and for my work also. And it helped me to set boundaries. And I was really bad at it, but I learned to prioritize myself more
Mm-hmm.
and to set really healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is two things which are, maybe three things which are really important to me today and help me every day.
Mm-hmm.
So this coaching just helped me to breathe a little bit more, but
Mm-hmm.
also just the things I can set now are really helpful to me and help me to be more productive at work, be more confident and comfortable at work and in my whole environment in general,
Mm-hmm.
because it helped me also personally. So really, I really think that it gives me this kind of thing, and also it gives me the confidence of doing another coaching if I need it later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where, but it's like now I know the process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to do it again if I need so, because
Mm-hmm.
you know you have the life is a cycle,
Right.
so maybe I will need one another time. But now I feel really great and I have no fear about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
really
it's
helped
really
me.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I also think it's really striking that, you know, like we said at the beginning, people often come in to coaching or they seek help because they want like this tangible thing. want a new job or they want to not be burned out. But what you just described is not only that. Yes, you did get a new job and it is a better fit for
Yeah,
you and it does represent your values. And so you're back on this path, you know, in sort of that like check the box of like what's the tangible thing, but all of these intangible things, the feeling of being more free, of having more boundaries, of knowing what you care about and how to sort of find that and put it into your life more, like those things transcend beyond whatever job it is you're doing today. And so
yeah,
I also think that's really important to point out in this journey, right? That like, of course, there are those tangible outcomes that people are here for and that you also achieved, but that's not even the thing you wanted to talk about here, right? And so I think that speaks to just what you were able to create for yourself in a really impactful way.
yeah, it is. And I feel really humble about it, but I'm proud of me of making this journey with you and also making effort on it. Just being able to do it, it feels great. So yeah, it changed your life really deeply, but
Mm-hmm.
greatly because you know what you're doing
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing it by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not only just your job, or even if it was my first thought when I
Yeah.
started coaching. For now, I see the benefits of coaching in all my life. So
Mm-hmm.
and it makes me confident.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's huge. To me, it's huge. It's a
Mm-hmm.
huge shift.
Well, thank you for being so generous with your time this evening and sharing your story with us. Is there anything else that you haven't shared that you still want to make sure you say, or anything you want to say to the people who have joined or who are going to watch this?
Um, I don't have anything to add for my story. But if people have questions, I'm really available. But I just wanted to share that my experience was great with you, Ellen, and that you adapt yourself to me. So it was really great, and that's why I could share a lot with you, and I could be really open about my difficulties. And this is why now I think I feel more confidence.
Mm.
So
Well,
if
thank
you want to do coaching, I think Ellen is the right person
you.
to do so.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's always really heartwarming to just hear how this process can play a role. And, you know, I was thinking earlier today about like the reason I do this is because I get to have these meaningful, deep, impactful, you know, moments and experiences with people. And we so seldom get to do that in life. And
Yeah.
so I really am grateful to you for allowing me and trusting me on your journey. And thank you for your time tonight. We are going to go ahead and wrap up, but for those listening, if you're interested to learn more, there's a couple things you can do. You can send me a message on Instagram here, just a direct message. If you have questions for Laura, please feel free to also send them along and I'll pass them to her or share them back with you. And if you want to learn more about coaching, you can either book a free discovery call. There's a link in my bio, or again, send me a message. There's a lot of options and ways you can connect. So thanks for being here. And for anyone watching back, thank you for sticking with us. And Laura, I hope you have a good rest of your evening and some more sunshine coming your way
Hope
soon.
so.
All right.
Bye bye.
Thanks
Thank you.
again.